Jessica Williams gripped the envelope tightly, her knuckles whitening as she stepped onto the sidewalk outside First National Bank. The city buzzed around her, the distant roar of traffic, the chatter of pedestrians, the clanging of a streetcar on the rails. But Jessica's mind was elsewhere, focused on the mission she had been meticulously planning for weeks, opening her very first checking account. At 13, she felt an odd mixture of pride and anxiety. This was more than a simple errand. It was her first real taste of independence. She adjusted the strap of her backpack, the weight of her savings pressing against her back like a tangible reminder of months of careful management. $800 in cash from her grandmother's birthday gifts, plus another $1,200 saved from allowances, holiday gifts, and school rewards. It was the largest sum of money Jessica had ever personally handled. To her, it felt like a small fortune, a mountain she had worked hard to climb. Yet beneath the excitement was a familiar tension. Jessica had spent her entire life believing her family was comfortably middle class, carefully sheltered from the staggering wealth her mother controlled. Dr. Angela Rodriguez Williams, a woman known in financial circles for her sharp mind and unyielding discipline, had gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure Jessica grew up grounded. There would be no chauffeur-driven limousines, no designer boutiques, no gilded halls of privilege. Jessica took the bus to school, shopped at ordinary stores, and earned her allowance through chores and academic performance. Angela had once told her, understanding value is the first step to understanding power. Jessica's heart fluttered as she pushed open the bank's heavy glass doors. The scent of polished wood and faintly perfumed air greeted her. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, glinting off brass teller rails and the gleaming marble floor. Professionals in sharp suits moved briskly from one counter to another, while elderly patrons waited patiently in the VIP section, their eyes occasionally flicking to Jessica as she made her way toward the customer service desk. At the counter stood Sharon Mitchell, the bank manager, whose expression froze as soon as her eyes landed on Jessica. A sharp, angular face framed by carefully styled hair, Sharon exuded authority, but it was an authority tinged with suspicion and something darker. Her gaze lingered on the envelope in Jessica's hands, then flicked to her neat but modest school uniform. "And how can I help you today, young lady?" Sharon asked, her tone tight, formal, but beneath it, Jessica sensed an almost imperceptible skepticism. I'd like to open a checking account, please," Jessica said, her voice slightly wavering, though she tried to keep it steady. She placed the envelope on the counter. "I have my savings here and my account statements." Sharon's eyes narrowed as she leaned forward, her fingers brushing the phone on her desk. "A checking account, And how old are you?" 13, Jessica replied, holding her head high. Sharon's lips pressed into a thin line. "And all of this money, it's yours?" She gestured vaguely to the envelope. "No parents involved?" Jessica nodded. "It's all mine. Birthday gifts and savings from allowances." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Sharon's face twisted, a mask of disbelief, suspicion, and Jessica realized with a pang the harsh undercurrent of something worse. "You don't expect me to believe that," Sharon said, her voice colder now, almost sneering. "A girl like you with this much cash? I think not. You probably got it from somewhere else. Perhaps you robbed someone." Jessica's heart slammed in her chest. She shook her head violently. "No, I didn't steal anything. This is my money. Please, I just want to open my account. Can I call my mom?" Sharon scoffed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Save it for the police." I'm not falling for your little story. Before Jessica could protest, Sharon grabbed the phone and dialed. Yes, I need officers immediately. I have a young thief attempting to deposit stolen money. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Humiliation burned her cheeks as other customers glanced over, whispers starting to circulate. She tried to steady her breathing, to convince herself that her mother would somehow fix this. But she couldn't shake the gnawing fear. What if the police believed Sharon? What if her reputation was ruined before her mother even arrived? Meanwhile, Sharon felt a fleeting sense of triumph, imagining the scene the officers would find. Little did she know, in less than an hour, her entire world would begin to unravel. Back at home, Dr. Angela Rodriguez-Williams had been reviewing financial reports in her sunlit office, a space that overlooked the sweeping lawns of Hill Rest Estates. The tranquility of the estate belied the empire she had built, an empire known only to a select few. Wealth, influence, and legacy were part of her world, but she raised her daughter in a deliberately different reality. Angela was acutely aware of the dangers of privilege, the judgment, the constant scrutiny, the expectation that everything could be taken for granted. She wanted Jessica to understand responsibility, the value of effort, and the dignity of self-earned success. When the phone rang, Angela assumed it was just another colleague. She answered, only to hear the trembling voice of her daughter. Mom, they think I'm a thief. Angela's calm demeanor shattered in an instant. Every maternal instinct surged forward, every ounce of authority and power she had accumulated now focused entirely on her child. Where are you? She demanded. First National Bank, downtown, Jessica whispered, barely holding back sobs. Within minutes, Angela's sleek black sedan was tearing down the city streets, a blur against the afternoon sun. Her presence at the bank would change everything. The officers Sharon had summoned would be met not with a nervous girl and a frightened mother, but with Dr. Angela Rodriguez-Williams herself, an influential figure whose name alone could make even the most confident bureaucrat falter. As Angela entered the bank, her presence was magnetic. Heads turned. Conversations stilled. Sharon. Jessica took a deep, steadying breath as she adjusted the strap of her backpack, straightening the crisp lines of her school uniform. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mix of nervousness and excitement, as she walked toward the customer service desk. For weeks, she had meticulously prepared for this moment, rehearsing her lines, organizing her documents, and mentally bracing herself to handle the responsibility of opening her very first checking account. At 13, she felt the weight of her independence in her small hands, wrapped around a neat envelope of birthday money and a backpack filled with carefully arranged statements. The lobby of First National Bank sprawled out before her in a sun-drenched expanse. Polished marble floors reflected the golden afternoon sunlight streaming through towering glass windows. The soft hum of printers mingled with the low murmur of financial conversations, punctuated by the occasional ringing phone or the quiet shuffle of papers. Business professionals in tailored suits moved briskly, checking their watches and murmuring into sleek phones. Elderly customers lingered in the VIP section, their eyes darting briefly toward Jessica as she crossed the lobby. She noticed the faint smell of polished wood, mingled with the sterile scent of antiseptic, a sensory mix she would remember forever. Jessica approached the first available teller window. The nameplate read, Jennifer Adams, Customer Service Representative. Jennifer's eyes flicked up from her computer, and in an instant, the atmosphere shifted. The welcoming smile that usually greeted new clients was gone, replaced with a cold, a praising stare that made Jessica's stomach churn. "What do you want?" Jennifer asked, her tone clipped and tinged with an almost imperceptible contempt. Her gaze scanned Jessica from head to toe, lingering on her modest school uniform, her neatly braided hair, and the envelope in her hands as if she were some problem to be assessed rather than a customer. "Hi, good afternoon," Jessica said brightly, forcing her voice to convey confidence. She placed the envelope carefully on the counter, her hands trembling slightly despite herself. "I'd like to open my first checking account, please. I'm really excited about this." Jennifer let out a short, sharp laugh, a sound that carried the unmistakable edge of mockery. "Are you serious right now? This is a real bank, not some community center. We don't just hand out accounts to every kid who wanders in here." Jessica's smile faltered. She had expected some procedural questions, maybe a bit of guidance, but not this level of hostility. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I'm 13, and I have all the required documentation. I've been saving for this for a long time. It's birthday money from my grandmother, plus some savings I've kept over the years." Jennifer's eyes narrowed, and her lips curved into a sneer. 13, huh? And let me guess, you got that cash from selling drugs or stealing from people. That's usually how kids like you come by money around here." Jessica felt a jolt of shock, like a sudden, sharp slap to her sense of reality. "Kids like me?" she repeated, confusion and hurt mingling in her voice. "I don't understand. I go to Westfield Prep. This is from my grandmother, birthday gifts. Nothing else." Jennifer let out another laugh, louder this time, dripping with disbelief. "Sure, Westfield Prep. Right. And I bet you stole that uniform too, didn't you? I know exactly what kind of neighborhood you come from, and it's not the type that sends kids to fancy schools." She reached for the phone on her desk, her fingers moving with dramatic flourish. "I'm calling my manager. Sharon, get over here. I've got one of those urban kids here trying to scam us with suspicious cash." Jessica's heart sank. The word scam felt like a knife twisting in her chest. She glanced around, noticing the subtle shifts in the other customers' gazes, some curious, some sympathetic, some judging without knowing a thing. She tightened her grip on the envelope, willing herself not to cry. Within minutes, Sharon Mitchell appeared. She was the picture of professional authority, tall, composed, hair pulled back in a meticulous bun, a tailored blazer emphasizing her posture. But her eyes, sharp and calculating, immediately locked onto Jessica, and something in them made Jessica's stomach knot with unease. Sharon's warm, managerial smile never appeared. Instead, her gaze carried a cold weight, as though she were measuring Jessica's worth before the first word had even been spoken. "Shouldn't you be in school, young lady?" Sharon asked, her tone not just questioning but accusatory. Jessica blinked, momentarily stunned by the harshness of the words. "Oh, I have permission from my school and my parents," Jessica said quickly, reaching into her backpack to produce a signed slip from her counselor. "I arranged to leave early specifically for this appointment." Sharon barely glanced at the paper, her attention fixed on the envelope of cash. "That's a lot of money for someone your age. Where did you get this?" Jessica opened the envelope, carefully displaying the neatly stacked bills. "It's birthday money from my grandmother and savings I've kept at home. I wanted to deposit it all so I could start my account properly." Sharon's laugh was sharp, humorless. "I find that hard to believe. Grandmothers don't typically give 13-year-olds $800 in cash." The accusation landed like a physical blow. Jessica had never been doubted like this, not once in her sheltered, meticulously guided life. She felt a mix of shock, humiliation, and indignation rising in her chest. "Please," she whispered, almost pleading, "I'm not lying. This is all mine." Jennifer crossed her arms, leaning slightly toward her manager. "See? I told you. Exactly the type we talked about in the staff meeting. And now she's trying to argue with us, getting aggressive. Definitely suspicious." Jessica's chest tightened, her mind spinning. She had been raised to believe that honesty, hard work, and politeness were enough to earn respect. Yet here she was, being judged for her skin color and for carrying the money she had earned honestly. She could feel the weight of the room pressing down on her, the stares, the whispered assumptions.